This is the Heritage Rough Rider. This particular one is nickel, and today we are going to have a whole lot of fun. Let's check this thing out and do a quick review. First things first, this pistol cost about 130 bucks as you see it. I got it from CNC Firearms. If you're ever in the Mammoth Cave National Park area, make sure to swing by. They've got a great selection and great prices. Now, the nickel version of this knife is a limited edition, limited run deal. I don't know if we're going to do it again, so the review today is not going to be so much on the nickel. We will talk about it a bit, but really what I wanted to know about is the Rough Rider itself. Now, this is one cool pistol, but if there's one thing that I didn't quite love about it, it was not hitting exactly where I wanted it to hit right out of the box. We were hitting quite high and left. So the first thing that I wanted to do when I was getting ready for this review is I wanted to zero this pistol. Let's talk about that real quick. Now, of course, somebody's going to say, of course, the pistol was not zeroed out of the box. No pistol is. And some pistols are, don't get me wrong. However, your out-of-the-box zero is more important on a firearm where the sights are not adjustable. And in this case, we were hitting worse the other day, but after a little bit of filing, I was hitting just a little bit left. And so what I was doing to get this down to where I want it was I was filing a little bit on the rear sights to bring our point of impact to the right. And you can see, hopefully here, slowly, one little step at a time, I was moving right. This is a whole lot of groups though, and things got a little hard to check out. Now, I want to mention that I am zeroing at 15 yards. I think that that's a good range to zero for a pistol like this. And the honest truth is, I'm not really confident with these iron sights at shooting a small target like, say, a squirrel at like 50 yards anyways, so I really want to be dialed in between about 15 and 30 yards. Now, as I continue to shoot here, I get to the point where I'm still a little bit left. I found myself moving my point of impact down faster than I was moving right, and I think that's because as I was filing to the right, I was filing down, but I was making less and less progress. Where we are at right now, I am able to quite confidently hit a head-sized target at 25 yards. Point of impact here at 25 yards was not too bad. I found myself probably aiming about here, and as you can see, on average, I was hitting pretty close to about here. So in my book, this is not horrible. If I wanted to hunt with this pistol, it's not quite where I want to be, however. Now, this video is not necessarily about the nickel finish, like I said earlier. However, I will say today it is over 100 degrees with the heat index, well over 100 degrees. It is sweltering and humid, and a lot of my shooting was in the sunlight. And so this nickel finish, I did find that I got a lot of glare at the red sights. Maybe it's because my eyes, something else, little vertical lines of glare, and it did make it a little more difficult for me to shoot. This is not how well I want to be shooting. I do intend to get this thing dialed in better than this. However, this is probably fine for now. At this point and at this round count, I have owned this pistol for 3 days. I shot 100 rounds through it today, CCI standard velocity, and I've probably overall shot about 300 to 400 rounds through this pistol, so we're still very, very early in the life of this pistol and my experience with it. We're going to get this dialed in. Now, this is my swinger target. This is at 50 yards here, shooting for a size comparison. This is a fairly small target. I would say we're looking at 4 or 5 inches here. It's smaller than the head target at 25. And the first time I shot at it, I hit 2 out of 6 times, and I was feeling pretty good about my ability to make some hits out here at 50 yards. As you are probably seeing as I'm speaking right now on film, I was not doing so hot. So right now, this is not a realistic target for me with my current confidence level with the sights with this pistol offhand. So at this point, I would say that I'm almost zeroed to where I want to be. I'm probably going to tweak this a little bit further, but I don't really want to widen that rear notch much further than where we are at currently. Now, for a first impressions review and talking about getting this pistol zeroed, you've probably gotten a pretty good idea of its relative accuracy as well. At 15 yards, I feel confident that I could pretty easily shoot about a 3-inch group. And at 25 yards, I can shoot a 5-inch target fairly well. And at 50 yards, I can't tell you exactly where I'm at. But at 25 yards, I think shooting soda cans and stuff like that would be a whole lot of fun. Now, I obviously didn't shoot from a rest off of a bag. This isn't a target pistol. So some people in here are going to say that they can shoot way better. That's fine. I think people will probably complain that we didn't show the maximum mechanical accuracy potential by locking this into a sled. And you know what? That's not really how people are using this pistol. So I'm happy with where we're at here. I would say it's a relatively accurate pistol. And we're going to have a better idea of what that actually means later when I compare it to a Ruger, to a Diamondback, to the Chiappa, and maybe to one or two others, maybe a couple Rugers. So we will just have to see about that. Now let's talk about fit and finish and a little bit about quality. And in doing so, we will mention this nickel finish because that part of the fit and finish on this pistol, it's underneath the nickel, but the nickel's kind of part of it, right? Now, fit and finish might be the most important part of this video because when I hear people talk about Heritage, it is usually talking about the guns being very rough and people being dissatisfied with the finish. And I believe that the Ruger Wrangler made its debut and built its popularity by attacking the Heritage's market. That is an affordable gun advertising slightly better fit and finish and also your transfer bar safety. And we're going to talk about the safety here in just a little bit. But when we look close at this pistol and the finish that is underneath this nickel, which I am a huge fan of, we do have some pock marks, we do have some divots, some dings, and I really don't care. I think that this is a beautiful pistol. In fact, I hate plastic grips, but as plastic grips go, I'm a fan of these. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I have some wood grips coming in though. I can't do the plastic on a wheel gun here, but you can see at the barrel, you see those waves in it. When you're doing your nickel, you want to get a really nice buffed finish underneath the nickel, and you are seeing a buffed finish that is less than ideal underneath the nickel in those waves. There are a couple chips in the nickel where it's very likely to flake off in some small spots and stuff like that. But here's the most important part of fit and finish on a revolver. Right up in there. The barrel cylinder gap. The space between the cylinder and the barrel there. And this is where, in my experience so far, Heritage blows the competition out of the water. My other Heritage is about 3 thou. This one is at 4 thou. And your educated wheel gun people will go through an entire display of Rugers looking for one with a barrel cylinder gap of about 4 thou. That's generally considered ideal. So Heritage, time and again, as far as I've been able to measure so far and in my experience, has a better barrel cylinder gap than any Ruger or Smith & Wesson. Even the more expensive Smith & Wessons will consistently have barrel cylinder gaps, oftentimes between 5 thou and 8 thou. In my experience, Rugers oftentimes are between 6 thou and 9 thou. And that's a crucial part to the performance of the pistol. So Heritage does a fantastic job there, and for me that outweighs any of the small finish issues. Now let's talk about reliability. When it comes to the gun going bang every time, I have had no malfunctions. And to be honest with you, based on my experience with Heritage, I expect to not have any malfunctions whatsoever in almost any amount of rounds when it comes to the hammer dropping and the bullet exiting the barrel. Now, with that being said, one of my first days of shooting, I did yeet the guide rod into the stratosphere, the guide rod housing. That screw came out, and that really sucked. Now, this is not something that is uncommon to happen with wheel guns. I had it happen, I believe it was with a Ruger years and years ago, a single 10 I think it was, or single 9 or something. They sent me a screw for free. I fixed it. As far as this screw, I cannibalized my Rancher carbine for this current screw, screwed it back in. Guys, Loctite, blue Loctite, all of your screws on your gun when you get it. Should this have been better from the factory? Yes. Do I accept it at the price point? Also, yes. However, I tightened this real nice and tight. I used blue Loctite. I cleaned the threads. We are loose once again, and look, that screw itself looks like it's moving. I'm perplexed by that a little bit. I'm a little bit perplexed. So I'm not ready necessarily to give this particular Heritage glowing reviews on reliability, purely because I've owned it for 3 days. I've ejected parts off of the firearm, and already it's moving. I don't think it should. I don't understand how that screw is moving. We're going to have to figure that out. So I'm going to wrap this up. What do I think about this Heritage? Well, first off, I've got to get this figured out. This is annoying to me. I'm going to do a video about Heritage as a whole, as a manufacturer. I've been very impressed with Heritage as a brand since I started reviewing the Rancher carbine, the long-term review for which is going to come, but I've been impressed with the value that they have been able to offer at their price point. My Rancher carbine has beautiful wood on the stock and is a wonderful shooting, very unique little piece. Now, your Rough Riders and your small bore revolvers are made in the USA. So people will say it's just a cheap Taurus, or it's just a Taurus rebranded or whatever, or since manufacturing has been taken over by Taurus. As I understand it, manufacturing is not taken over by Taurus. Taurus has allowed these guns to continue to be made in Georgia. They're made in the USA. Now, their big bore revolvers are made in Italy by Pieta, I think. And then their new line of lever actions, shotguns, etc., I believe are made by Taurus. Some of them in Brazil, maybe even some in Turkey, I think. So I'm stoked on them as a brand. $130. The fact that this is nickel plated at $130. So my thing is, the Rugers, people like them for the transfer bar safety. I'm about to speak heresy, but everybody's terrified of running a 6-shooter revolver with 6 rounds. And Heritage clearly says right here, keep 5 rounds in the cylinder and the hammer down on an empty chamber. I think that is Hollywood crap. You go back to the history of cowboys to Colts marketing, and they market you use the safety notch. It is actually a safety notch designed by people who are very smart to be very, very safe. I will not carry 5 in the cylinder with any gun that has a safety notch. I will carry 6 rounds, either half-cocked or in the safety notch.
Where the crap was I going with that?
That's where I was going with that. That's why people are like, love the Ruger. They're like, holy crap, it's a little more expensive than the Heritage, but we get the transfer bar safety, and everybody has been led to believe that even historically they need something like this transfer bar safety to safely operate the firearm, and it is simply untrue. It is cool though. It's not a bad thing. It's all right. It's fine. Transfer bar safety's fine. So with the Wrangler, they're selling, they say slightly better finish and a transfer bar safety, and you're going to spend $200. And then with this pistol, these come in at $99 all of the time. You have this safety. A lot of people hate the safety, but it works. It works fine. And I might delete mine. I might not. Heritage isn't going to want to be associated with me because I'm saying all of this, but it's got a safety that works. So if you can get it at half price with a huge catalog of options, not only finishes and colors, whereas the Ruger only gives you 3, you have a huge catalog with Heritage, but you can also go to their website and buy a huge variety of accessories and optional parts and parts for the gun dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. It doesn't exist. No manufacturer has an aftermarket that I know of like Heritage does for their products. It shows a passion and it's fantastic. So overall, I am very excited about the brand. I'm very excited about the performance of this pistol. I am going to clean up this guide rod housing, clean up the threads in the tapped hole there, clean up the screw, use alcohol on all of that, and blue Loctite it again. And I expect this to not happen again ever once I've done that effectively. I'm pretty weirded out by this, but still stoked about it. Still stoked about it. Excited to get this dialed in with the sights too. What do you think about Heritage? What has your experience been with Heritage? Do you have experience comparing the Heritage to other similar value single action revolvers? Are they fun to you? You know, a lot of people I think buy these because they're cheap, shoot them once or twice, and then put them in the safe and never see them again. I love shooting this thing, and as my kids get to shooting age, you're going to see a lot more shooting on this channel because I've got buddies to shoot with now, and these are going to get a lot of use here. But I'm excited to hear your experiences, thoughts, and like I said, we're going to have a comparison coming up, and we're going to talk about some nitty-gritty nerd details, accuracy, reliability, value, all of that. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I hope you have a blessed day, and let me know what I forgot too, because I'm sure in about 10 minutes I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot all these things. But talk to you there. See you.